especially I recently was racially profiled by cops and my father as well. So when I see things like that, it's very easy to fall into a protective mode. They just want to keep the enemy out and you want to like protect yourself. So it's very easy for you to start disliking the main people that are hurting you. It's very easy for you to start to trying to find, you don't want a middle place. You want to be like, okay, I am standing with my people. You can be with your people. So one of the things that I'm really getting with God and prayers in the Bible, we serve a God that He created us all, and He's not a partial God. And to me, when Jesus said, "My kingdom is no part of this world," I still have to care about the governments and what the governments are doing. I still have to care about other people, but I have to remember that I have to represent love, no matter what. I have to make a difference. And as a little kid, I always wanted to change the world. And I think when we try to change the world, we lose our peace. We get angry, we get frustrated. And I started to feel, especially with everything started with George Floyd, I started to feel kind of anger, like that anger that I'm like, oh my God, if you look at me wrong, you're gonna hear it. And then after 2 days, I had to remember, like, what am I doing? I don't want to be part of the problem because for years people have been trying to prove who is superior than other. And in my eyes, we're all the same. So just knowing that God is not a partial God and He loves all of us the same. And then the Bible says that love is the biggest and the best quality we can have. When we love people, we don't see colors, we don't see language, we don't see flags. We see somebody that is just like us and deserve love. Unless a person does something really bad to you, you can choose to respect them or not. But if you choose to not love or respect someone just because they look different than you, and then you don't know God, you don't know Christ, you are not making a difference in this world. You are part of the problem, and I don't want to be identified as such. So I choose love.
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Are you willing to share, and I'm only asking this, and you can say no, I want to tell you that ahead of time. There are acquaintances and friends of mine and other authors I've seen on the internet and social media who are really struggling with this idea that the police could ever be involved in racial profiling.
Mhm.
And you mentioned that had happened to you pretty recently with you and your father. Are you comfortable sharing that story?
Oh yeah, I am. So I will start how I felt, like many people feel. You know, um, we as foreign people, even Black people, we are taught to hate the Afro Americans, and but they don't say, people don't say, I want you to hate the Afro Americans, but people label Afro Americans. Oh my, they're lazy people, they're criminals, they don't want to go to school, they have a bunch of kids with a lot of women, they don't like to work, they just want to live from the government. So automatically, when we hear, it's psychology, normally when we hear so many bad things about a person, we automatically are gonna dislike them. Sometimes we have a chance of meeting them and spending time with the people, but if that doesn't happen, we're gonna have a wrong idea of the people. So as a Black woman that I have a child with Afro American man, I believe that, because of how I was taught, I somehow I seen these people as inferior than me. Oh, because, oh yeah, you're a sophisticated Black woman and things like that. So a lot of times, because people are labeled to be something they're not, because it's true, some people don't behave good, some Black people don't behave good, but it doesn't mean that all Black people are bad. Some white people don't behave good. It
That's right.
doesn't not mean that every white person is bad. But what I believe is, the root that we've implanted in children, they grow up and then implant on their children, it can create better people or worse people. And I think, the way and the reason why a lot of people don't see that cops or the government mistreats Black people is because they feel that they are justified whenever they do something bad to those people. And it's not true. But anyways, so in a year, about a year ago in December, I was driving to work, and I was on Lone Mountain in Cave Creek, and I'm, in my car, and was a stoplight, and this young boy, he was driving a really large truck. He was distracted, and he hit me on the car, on the back. So, but he took off. It was a hit and run. I went after him. I called 911. I say, look, I'm going towards Cave Creek. This guy, he hit me. He's taking off. I'm right behind him until you guys come. I explained it to them. So finally, I was able to put my car in a way that he could not leave a street. He didn't know it was a dead end street. So he tried to go in that street to take off. He couldn't because I blocked his way for the police to come. But when the police got there, they were yelling at me and my sister. I was calm because when I saw the boy, I think he was like 16, 17. And I'm like, okay, he's just a crazy boy. He's probably trying to get home early before his parents wake up. He probably should not be out. And so I was like, I was being nice. I'm a parent. I just wanted to make sure, okay, I'm not here to hurt you. I just want you to be responsible, and what you did was wrong. So they got there. They called the ambulance, and they came. They didn't care if I was injured. Um, they didn't care that I was calm because based on what he did to us, I could not be calm because you just hit me and you took off. So they were talking to us in a very disrespectful way, and they were talking to the boy very nice. So this, and they were like, "Oh, They asked me for my license. They asked me for insurance. I'm like, "Hey, why are you guys so worried about me? Focus on him. He's the problem. He hit my car and took off." You know. So when his parents got there, they were so nice to them, and that really bothered me because that is one of the few times that I felt that people were racist against me. But prior to that, and I think, I'm not saying Republicans are bad, Democrats are bad. All I say, like, since the last elections, I have seen a rise when it comes to racism in America. I feel like even some of the people from church that I had to cut off, I started noticing people on their Facebooks and Instagrams, they were sharing things that were not nice. And I'm like, oh my goodness, those are people that I go to church with. Those are people that I talk about my brother, my sister. We show love, but they really have a racism personal, no, a racist personality. I don't know if you can say that in English, but it's like a racist ways toward people they don't look like them. And as a black foreign woman, I got tired of being treated better because I'm not from America. And and that happens a lot, which is sad. But recently, like 2, 3 months ago, I think it was end of February, I'm not sure. In February, March, my dad was driving at night with my mom, and they were gonna make a right turn on 43rd Avenue in Thunderbird. So he stopped a little bit, but he took, he it doesn't say don't make a right on uh on a red light. So my father just made a right, and this cop followed my parents, to the front of our house. I was there. My sister was there with her kids. I was there with my daughter. My and then we have a little niece. She's a year something. She didn't understand what was happening, and it was really late. It was maybe like um, 9:45, 10:15 p.m. So the reason why the kids woke up and we ran out is because they heard someone screaming in front of the door. So when we got out, it was this cop that, he was treating my dad like my dad was garbage. My dad is a very well educated. My dad is, how he's not like he fights, argue. No, he's a very meek person. He speaks well. His English is not perfect, but you can tell that he's a very well mannered guy. And so I automatically took my phone because like a lot of people don't like it, but the only defense that we have now as a black person is our phones. We always have to record because it's the only thing that will hold them liable or accountable for whatever they do against us, and so that people can see when people are being mean to us. So I took my camera, and my dad was like, very calm. The cop was he was acting like he was in drugs. He was crazy. He was screaming. He was being disrespectful towards my parents. And, like I said in the beginning, my father has a very um, bad health condition. My dad had cardiac arrest more than 4 times. Anything could kill my dad, you know. So we were really worried. I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Well, your dad didn't stop." I say, "Excuse me, my dad didn't have to stop, and he still did." And I told him, "Now you stop him in front of the house and you are yelling." And he like, "Get that F in the house." He's cussing at us. You need to get inside of it. I said, "No, we are in front of our house. We're not gonna go inside. We don't know what you want to do to our dad," because I could see that he did not have good intention towards my dad. He wanted to make my dad angry. He wanted to get my dad to react, but my dad didn't. So he got more angry. And my mother, that also has heart issues, she was in the car, and I know that she was shaking because they really didn't do anything. The kids were
Right.
crying, and I felt hopeless. But at the same time, I felt like what the Afro American people feel. That's why sometimes when we see, oh my God, they should not reacted. Sometimes they show your dignity. They treat you like worse than animals, and they expect you just to take it. And this is just horrible. I had many experiences, but those are the most recent ones.
Did you actually end up filming that particular police officer?
I did.
Did you ever make a complaint or a report to the law enforcement agency that he worked for?
I did not, and
Okay.
I need to see if I still have the video because I didn't do it at the time because my dad asked me not to do it because he's like, well, he knows our house, and I think this is what happens. A lot of people act in fear.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not
But
from here, so
then
there's a lot of fear.
if you complain and they don't fix it, then that particular officer knows where you live. He knows what you all look like, and that can be a fearful thing as well.
Yes, I think with my parents, a lot of times when they get discriminated against, yeah, they don't do anything about it because it's fear. They're not from here. So we are all American citizens, but I think it's just because they are not, we don't really know all the laws. Now with everything that is going on, we can understand our rights, but they still fear. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of people that don't do anything about it is because of fear.
Do you think the fear is rooted in do you think it is a fear that if they do speak out or they do report it, that it will not be taken seriously, or that the person who did it won't be held accountable, or some mixture of all that?
It's part of that, but also, I'm sorry to you as an American person, and you're a lawyer, and I'm sorry to anyone that is gonna be watching this because I'm not here trying to point fingers or offend anyone. But to tell you the truth, I have friends that are cops, and I kind of lost contact with some people when I changed my number 4 years ago. But a lot of people that are in law enforcement, sadly, a lot of people that work for the government, a lot of people that work in healthcare, they're not really there because they want to make a difference, because they care about people. They are there so that they can have a badge that makes okay for them to do bad thing and knowing that nothing is gonna happen to them. And they tell you like, hey, you got to be careful because if you do something against a cop, they can send people against you. So a lot of people are afraid that, oh, am I gonna always get pulled over? Am I gonna get killed? Am I gonna get set up with things? Because I heard of situations like that when people were set up. So yeah. uh,
And you said that was in police officers and also in healthcare. Tell me a little more about that to the extent you can.
I'll give you a very recent situation. My grandmother was visiting from Portugal, and she got sick, and we took her to the emergency. And my grandmother, I was in the room. She was talking to me. In Europe they have a healthcare that covers them when they are in Europe. She didn't have that here. So whatever medical thing she needed, we always paid cash, or for her, we always paid for it. So if, as you can understand, it was something very serious. She needed a surgery. They like, does she have insurance here? We tried to contact the insurance company in Europe, and we were having a hard time. So my grandmother needed to take. she needed the surgery right away. They didn't do it. So my grandmother ended up dying.